The graduation address gives us the opportunity to hear from a distinguished member of our alumni community, and we are fortunate today to have the address delivered by Associate Professor Libby Callaway. Associate Professor Callaway is a registered occupational therapist and currently works as the research stream lead across the Rehabilitation, Ageing and Independent Living Research Centre and Occupational Therapy Department in the Faculty of Medicine, Nursing and Health Sciences. Associate Professor Callaway leads a national collaborative program focused on housing technology and workforce design, and co-produced with people with lived experience of disability. Associate Professor Callaway is also the Director and Principal of NeuroSkills, a community-based occupational therapy practice, and is President of the Australian Rehabilitation and Assistive Technology Association, the national peak body for assistive technology stakeholders. It gives me great pleasure in inviting Associate Professor Libby Callaway to deliver the graduation address.
Thank you, Deputy Chancellor, the Honourable Simon Crean, Pro-Vice-Chancellor of Research Training, Professor Nelly Georgiou-Kiritsianis, members of the faculty, ladies and gentlemen, and especially our new Monash graduates. Congratulations on this day, your day of graduation from nursing and health science degrees or our higher degree research at Monash University. You're embarking on an exciting journey in this stage of your life. And with that in mind, I'd like to begin my speech today by reading an excerpt from a poem from Michael Lunick, which is called A Life. And I'll be referring back to this poem throughout my speech. Anyone can get a life, and anyone can lose it. But who will dare to inhabit the thing and use it? A lived-in life will soon get loose and worn from use and feeling. Countless tiny scratches, the shine goes off, it's very unappealing. And yet it works and lives, and all still goes and it forgives. It's a miracle, worn in, bashed in, cried in, and the great thing, a lived-in life can be happily died in. As mentioned, I'm an occupational therapist, and for almost 30 years, I've worked with people who have been living a life which has changed in a split second as a result of accident, a health event, or some sort of trauma that causes acquired brain injury. People like Chris and his family who have given me permission to talk about them today. And I'll be sharing their story. Chris was in his early 50s when he had an unexpected health event that caused him to stop breathing, and he sustained a significant hypoxic brain injury. It was the paramedics who first met Chris and his family and urgently transferred him to hospital, where nurses and doctors commenced emergency treatment on him. The radiographers and medical imaging teams were called for diagnostic scanning, and he moved through the acute hospital system and into rehabilitation, working closely with occupational therapists, physiotherapists, and others as part of his rehabilitation on an early road to building a new life after brain injury. These are the people you will meet in your work and in your research. I first met Chris when he'd been transferred from rehabilitation to an aged care nursing home as a younger person, and his ex-wife and 2 sons were visiting and seeing firsthand the horror of complete lack of choice that Chris had in relation to housing and support that would meet his needs. Chris's ex-wife approached me at a workshop I was hosting back in 2013 and asked about what could be done to find a better option for Chris, a question that needed to be answered. You've studied at one of the most prestigious universities, a university that has always supported and encouraged me to ask questions and seek answers to life's most wicked problems. One of the biggest questions that I faced working in the field of disability, and which Chris's wife raised again with me back in 2013 when we met, is why are there not a range of options for housing and support that people like Chris can choose from once their inpatient rehabilitation is finished? Why was Chris, a person in the prime of his life, working full-time, looking after his 2 sons, and engaging in activities that were important to him prior to his brain injury, now effectively locked in a nursing home? How was Chris going to, in the words of Lunig, inhabit his life and use it so that his lived-in life could be happily died in at a later stage in life, long after his brain injury? My health sciences degree, clinical practice as an occupational therapist, and ongoing research and project work at Monash University is helping to answer these questions. After 12 years of clinical work, in 2006, I joined Monash University's new occupational therapy department when it opened. The department was headed by an occupational therapist who taught me as an undergraduate, through my master's research, and went on to supervise me in my PhD at Monash, Associate Professor Louise Farnworth, who's here today. With Louise and many others' encouragement, including my head of school, Professor Terry Haynes, who is also here today, I continued to ask the questions and try and use research to answer those questions that would inform both government policy as well as practical on-the-ground solutions for people like Chris. I've always been encouraged by leaders at Monash to think big, and I strongly encourage you as our graduates to do the same. The big thinking included Louise and I lobbying the university to do something that no other university in Australia has ever done: use some vacant land that they had on Monash Peninsula campus to build some housing for younger people with disability who would be otherwise living with ageing parents well into adulthood or be forced to move into institutional settings like group homes and nursing homes. People like Chris. We knew that if we could intersperse housing on a vibrant and active university campus, we could not only offer new housing solutions, demonstrate those to government as well as for people that needed them, but we could also offer much more impactful education and research opportunities for our health science students at Monash, and improve our work through lived experience, expert collaborations with people with disabilities. Through a $2.9 million federal government capital grant and recurrent state government funding for 24-hour shared support and philanthropic and in-kind support from the Summer Foundation, 6 smart technology-enabled units were built and made available to people with disability on Monash Peninsula campus in 2015. One of these people was Chris, and he moved as a 52-year-old from living in a nursing home to living in his own unit where he could have his boys visit, grow his own fruit and vegetables, and recommence his love of gym, yoga, and Buddhist meditation. Chris also took up the offer we made to him for additional input from occupational therapy and physiotherapy students studying at Monash, and he began working with them through their fieldwork hours to set and achieve goals relating to his involvement in his home, social activities, and his community life. Chris has an incredible lived experience, and together he and I looked at ways we could harness that expertise in both industry and government-funded research and project work. Chris became one of my key collaborators and has gone on to lecture students at Monash, work with me to produce free, accessible online education resources for allied health professionals and people with disabilities and their families, present at workshops and conferences, and write online opinion pieces with me and journal articles that bring together his lived experience, expertise, and my occupational therapy perspective. Chris is my colleague, and I am so lucky to work with him. As Lunig said in that poem, and yet it works and lives, and it still goes on and it forgives. It's a miracle, worn in, bashed in, cried in, and the great thing, a lived-in life can be happily died in. So how can we as nursing and health professionals help people to have a lived-in life that can be happily died in? You're entering health professional practice or undertaking research during one of the biggest disability reforms Australia will ever see, with recommendations stemming from disability, aged care and mental health royal commissions, and the amazing launch of a $22 billion national disability insurance scheme. Chris got access to the scheme in 2018 when it commenced in the Peninsula region of Victoria. For Chris, the NDIS has been a life changer, and although it continues to have its problems in both design and implementation, the scheme has had such a positive impact on Chris's ability to choose what he does, where he does it, and who he does it with. As Chris describes, for him, the NDIS is bloody brilliant. Through my work at Monash, I've continued to ask questions of the scheme design and implementation. How can it work? How can it be improved? How can the problems that exist with its implementation be fixed? And using my health sciences background and a questioning mind, I now sit on various government advisories, as well as taking up a voluntary role on the board of the Australian Rehabilitation and Assistive Technology Association, or RATA, which offers a national platform for systemic advocacy and engagement to ensure people like Chris can all have a bloody brilliant NDIS experience. Not all do at this stage, and there's still more to be done to refine and improve the scheme. The best way to do that is by listening to people with lived experience, people like Chris. So as you enter practice as nursing and health professionals or continue your postgraduate research journey, listen to the people you work with who have the lived experience that you can learn from. Your patients, your clients, participants in your research or co-researchers with you. Acknowledge their expertise and the unique perspectives they bring into healthcare work or research. So in closing, for you, our nursing and health science graduates, I paraphrase the words of Lunig and I say to you, anyone can get a career and anyone can lose it, but who will dare to inhabit the thing and use it? Use it. Use your degree, your postgraduate research for amazing things. Ask questions, identify problems and seek answers using your inquiring minds, and you will have a brilliant impact on your own life as well as that of others. Good luck and best wishes to you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Libby, not just for the address, but for the great work that you do. I think it highlights the importance of why governments are important in funding this area, but essentially it requires that practical dimension and creative thinking as to how it can be put to best use. But the question of housing and assistive technology for people with a disability, it's a huge challenge, but there's great opportunity, and we look to so many of you in the future to be part of that. So thanks again for all the great work.